Welcome back, everybody. We are continuing the conversation here, and on Sunday, the 21st of March, was the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, and we're going to find out how that day is observed, as well as the topics surrounding it as well, and how we can do our part to eliminate racial discrimination in Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension, the world. Joining me this morning is Haran Ramkaran-Singh, who's the Director of Legal Services for the Equal Opportunity Commission of Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Carrie. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here this morning. So let's jump right into it. And the 21st was the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. When it comes to the Equal Opportunity Commission of Trinidad and Tobago, how do you usually observe the day?
Well, we observe the day, we observe a number of United Nations days. So this was one of the days in the United Nations human rights calendars. We observe the day by trying to make people more aware of the work that we do and what the day involves. We don't do anything in particular like have a parade or that sort of thing, but it's more about public education, because one of our mandates is really to inform the public and make the public more aware. So, for example, this is what I'm doing here as part of our observance of the day, by making people more aware of the day and what it involves.
Now, let's speak about the topic at hand itself. When it comes to racial discrimination, there are some ways that are quite obvious, but there are some ways as well that are more insidious. How do we begin to, one, identify when there's a system or a person or even a hierarchy that is discriminating against others based on race that are more covert rather than overt?
Well, that is an inherently difficult issue. I mean, for example, when one looks at the COVID-19 situation and the way it played out in, say, North America and in the United Kingdom, where they said that persons who were in the United Kingdom, they have an expression known as BAME, Black, Asian, Minority, Ethnic. And the United States talk about persons who are black, and they said that persons who are black or minority and ethnic were more adversely affected by COVID than, say, white Americans or white English persons. But, at the same time, I don't think it's necessarily that the vaccine, that the COVID-19 was a racist virus. I think it had to do with the systemic issues that they face, the lack of access to healthcare, lack of access to proper diet, information on proper diet and proper exercise, lifestyle, and some of it were lifestyle choices as well.
Right.
So that, it's not necessarily fair to blame the system entirely, but a lot of it had to do with personal choices that these groups made in terms of, the foods that they ate, the exercise or lack of exercise, that sort of thing.
Well, I don't know, we could probably argue that the system is set up in a way to disadvantage certain people. Now, when it comes to the foods that are available and the foods that they can access when it comes to the price of it, and what is available in their direct surroundings versus the employment they are able to get, is a whole conversation. We could go down that line. But let's speak now a little more centric to Trinidad and Tobago and the ways in which we see racial discrimination here.
We see racial, I think a lot of it, by and large, there's always a sense of perception, because, your perception is your reality. So that if you perceive, a situation where you feel you're being discriminated against based on your race, then that's your reality. But sometimes, persons who believe they're being discriminated can lodge a complaint with us. Sometimes when we investigate, we find out, well, it's not really a case of race discrimination. There's probably some other reason why this happened to you, but the underlying issue was really a lack of communication. So that sometimes there's a lack of communication and lack of information can lead to you, or the person rather, forming this impression. So I think that sometimes while there are genuine cases, I mean, and let's not discount that, I think many of the cases that we see around us really have to do with a lack of communication and a lack of dialogue.
Now, would you recommend that, say, for instance, somebody experienced something in the workplace or in a public setting, whatever the case may be, do you recommend that they acquire evidence of racial discrimination before they lodge their complaint?
Well, yes, it would always help your case. Lawyers have an expression that there are evidential challenges or evidential hurdles. So it's so while in the past we have been able to, we are able to investigate, so that even if you don't have the evidence, but you do have a suspicion, you can come and lodge a complaint with us, and we are empowered to investigate the matter. But of course, if you have evidence beforehand, that would help your case even more. but sometimes the evidence you need you may not, as an employee, for example, you may not have the power to go into the human resource office and open their files and access their files. But you might just see a situation that's happening around you. There was a matter that we had referred to our court, the Equal Opportunity Tribunal, where a person who was employed at a public utility said that he saw someone who was promoted ahead of him into a job for which that person did not hold the qualification.
Right.
The person actually presented a degree from an online university that was not accredited.
Okay.
So he was able to gather that evidence. He actually wrote to the Accreditation Council and said, well, does the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago recognize the degree for whatever university it is? So he gathered his evidence on his own, but at the same time, he would not have been able to gather any more evidence from his employer, so he would have to come to us, and we can now gather evidence from the employer to ascertain, well, what really happened.
Right.
In that case, the employer could not explain what really happened, so the court actually ruled in favor of the person lodged a complaint with us and said that because there was a burden of proof that shifted to the employer, if they cannot explain why they treated these persons differently, then they would make the inference that there was racial discrimination.
Now, if someone needed more information about the Equal Opportunity Commission of Trinidad and Tobago, how can they reach out?
Well, you can check us on our website, www.equalopportunity.gov.tt. People always confuse us and say equal opportunities.
Right.
No, but we're equal opportunities, a singular word.
Okay.
So equalopportunity.gov.tt. Our telephone number is on the website. And they're free to call us. In the past, in the pre-COVID times, we always told people you're free to walk into our office. Now it's a bit of a challenge,
So that maybe need to schedule.
Maybe you need to schedule, but you can always call us or email us.
All right, that's all we have time for this morning. But I want to thank you very much for joining us this morning. Haran Ramkaran Singh, Director, Legal Services of the Equal Opportunity Commission of Trinidad and Tobago, giving us some information on the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. Remember, you could reach out on their website and their phone numbers on the website as well, where you can get more information and find out the ways in which you can lodge complaints and the protocol for these things as well. All right, we are going to take a break and come back with much more right here on the Now Morning Show.